Good afternoon and welcome to my presentation for Week 6, Discussion 1, where we're going to discuss fantasy's role in serial murder as well as the dynamics and definitions of serial murder with special consideration toward motivation. Fantasy's role in homicide is multifaceted and steeped in complex cognitive motivation. It's no secret that sadistic serial murders generally possess elaborate fantasies brimming with abuse, control, and dominance. Clarelelli even goes so far as to state that fantasy presents as the underlying basis for serial homicide, wherein an individual becomes so immersed in their fantasies they prompt isolation from society, which in turn creates a greater reliance on said fantasies. As these fantasies abound, they only prove slightly effective in assuaging an individual's lust. Thus, the individual must attempt to reproduce their fantasies in reality. Here we see the trajectory of fantasies which cycle into dissociation and then compartmentalization in a repeated pattern. Aleli uses this framework to demonstrate both Jeffrey Dahmer and Dennis Rader's descent into serial homicide in Chapter 3 of our text. I wanted to include a visual here to really cement the role fantasy plays in serial homicide. As you can see in Table 1, copied from Adorjolo and Chan's 2014 article, The Controversy of Defining Serial Murder Revisited, not only have the contemporary definitions changed within the 21st century in regards to serial homicide, they also tend to exclude any definition of sexual motivation. These definitions are more powerful and accurate than those that hold fast to the sexually derived serial murder. For one, female serial killers do not seem to partake in any sexual action during their attacks, such as Amelia Dyer and Janine Jones. Another example includes healthcare professionals who kill within their profession, such as Charles Cullen, the Angel of Death, and the most prolific serial killer in modern history with an estimated victim count of 250 people, Harold Shipman. Finally, the FBI gives examples of serial killers who are not motivated by sexual fantasy in their assertion that serial murder does not need to be sexually based, naming killers such as Michael Swango, who was convicted of poisoning 4 people but suspected of killing 35 to 50 people throughout the United States, and Paul Reed, who killed at least 7 people during the commission of restaurant robberies, wherein his primary motive was witness elimination. Offenders who meet the basic criteria for serial murder outlined by the varied definitions in the table on the slide, whose motive is one of financial gain, should be included in the literature on serial killers. The FBI themselves include financially motivated serial killers in their literature and even go on to give examples of such crimes by naming Black Widow killings, robbery homicides, and insurance or welfare fraud homicides. Additionally, by including these killers in the serial killer research, we can more accurately draw conclusions and profiles, as well as produce relevant policy implications. By excluding financially motivated killers, we've created a misrepresentation of actual data. An example I watched in a documentary a while ago was how the media and potential jurors may view financially motivated killers as less dangerous than less killers. A poignant example is we give them inconspicuous monikers like Giggling Granny, Fast Food Killer, Lonely Hearts Killer, rather than gruesome monikers like Night Stalker, Cannibal of Milwaukee, and the Brooklyn Vampire. In turn, serial killers motivated by financial gain, which 50% of female serial killers fall into that category, may go undetected for longer periods of time because they do not fit traditional and outdated profiles of serial killers. To demonstrate the importance of including all motives within the definition of serial murder, I've included 3 case studies where the serial killers were each motivated uniquely apart from the media's portrayal of serial killers and possessed no sexual-based motivation for their crimes. First, we have Herbert Mullen. Mullen possessed a strange delusion that a massive earthquake would destroy California if nature did not receive a blood sacrifice. He believed the Vietnam War caused an adequate number of deaths to prevent the earthquake, but as the end of 1972 loomed and the war began ending, with the United States starting to withdraw troops, Mullen felt it was necessary to compensate for the lack of deaths, and it was up to him to stop the earthquake. His killings were driven by his psychotic delusions rather than sexual or even personal gratification. However, he still killed 13 people between 1972 and 1973, all in the name of blood sacrifice. Our second case study is Joseph Paul Franklin. Franklin was dissatisfied with the radical hate groups to which he belonged. He felt the need to partake in a mission that attacked minorities rather than just sat around and complained about them. So he traveled around the country, robbing banks to support his mission, and murdered minorities, mostly Black and Jewish people. He is suspected of over 20 murders, but was convicted of 15. While he was not psychotic like Mullen, his crimes still lacked the sexually based motive we would see in other serial killers such as Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer. Our final case study is a well-known female serial killer, Belle Gunness. On July 30th, 1900, Gunness's husband died of heart failure, which was an extraordinary day in which he possessed 2 life insurance policies, one that was about to expire and one that had just been initiated. She was able to cash out on both life insurances. She remarried, and her new husband died after catching fire in the stove. Then Gunness started taking ads out in the Lonely Hearts column of the local newspaper. After men would visit her, they would disappear. After her last victim disappeared, his family alerted authorities. Gunness's house burned down shortly after, with her headless body found among the remains. However, it is largely contested that it was not her due to the body not quite matching her stature. So this concludes my presentation. For a list of my references, please see my comment on the discussion post, including a reference to the music that was provided for a couple of the slides on this PowerPoint. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a great day.